Hi, everybody. Thanks very much for joining.
Hi.
And just to introduce you, the three of you, all gurus from the travel industry. We have Tom Barber, co-founder of Original Travel, Rory Pilkington, who is MD of Bailey Robinson, and Simon Meeke, who's MD of Powder Byrne. And I think the beautiful thing about the travel industry, well, not the beautiful thing maybe in the last year and a half, but the interesting thing is you've probably been hit harder than most in terms of COVID and the problems that's given everybody. And I think this is a great opportunity now in this sort of chat, just to sort of pick up on where you think the market's gone, what's happened, the horrors you've had, the nightmares you've had, good things that will come of it, all that sort of stuff, and just see how it's affected you and your business, and then what your hopes are for the future, if you like. And rather uniquely, as Judith Chalmers' son-in-law, I think I'm uniquely placed to opine on the travel industry. but maybe I won't. Maybe I'll leave it to the experts. Our market, we're independent school parent sort of platform, and so our market are interested very much in what's going to happen to the holiday industry. What sort of questions are you getting from your clients at the moment? Now Boris has given us a bit of a roadmap, and how are you sort of answering them? Rory, what about you first?
I think the first question everybody's asking is when and where will I be able to travel? There's a report on the 12th of April, but what's it going to say? Where will we be able to go on the 17th of May? And people just thinking about the summer, because it's all very well this country saying, yeah, you can go, but it's also we got the problem the other end of, do countries want us? If we suddenly say, yeah, we can go to Australia, you can bet your bottom dollar the Australians are not going to want us for some time yet. Yeah. So the frustration is people wanting to go away. At last, I think they're beginning to feel, yeah, I'm going to be able to go. They could have a summer holiday, but the frustration is, well, where can you? Are we really going to be able to get away? Or is the can just being kicked down the road, and we're going to be told in April, no, only Greece or not here? Are they going to open corridors? It's the uncertainty is the frustration. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel, but I think at the moment it's frustration of where can you go? That's certainly the biggest question we're finding at the moment.
And Tom, would you echo that?
I would very much, and I would add that the other question is, what confidence can they have in us being able to protect their money or postpone, or that side of things I think has become unbelievably important. Yeah. And a lot of people got their fingers burnt last time round, and so we've all, I imagine, I haven't checked out your two terms and conditions, but we've all had to become unbelievably flexible in our old age. Yeah. And we've slashed our deposit requirements and the time when you have to pay your full balance, and anything we can do to give people a little bit more flexibility and confidence that they can book, and if things go the wrong way, then they can postpone or switch destinations or cancel, because obviously that is always their right to do. Yeah. And I think we're all hammering that message.
Yeah. And Simon, do you find, I'm sure you have the same issue and the same questions, and do you find that the resorts you deal with are happy with that? Do they help you with all that sort of stuff?
Yes, I think the word here is uncertainty, which both Tom and Rory picked up on there. It's how do we help clients with dealing with that uncertainty, and that's evolved from lockdown 1 through lockdown 2 and 3. The uncertainty has evolved. We've asked our clients to trust us, to put their trust in us, to put their trust in the arrangements around the bonding or whatever it might be. The financial protections are in place, and of course we've had a few false starts, and that's been challenging, because where people have rearranged their holidays, where we've certainly felt confident that we were working within the framework to be able to deliver those holidays, these new variants and the changes that have happened have obviously changed the rules. And so I think it's really about making sure that we keep as open and transparent with clients now, and be as clear, and as Tom said, clear in terms of terms and conditions and the financial protections are in place, and make sure that people are entering into the next conversation about holiday with their eyes wide open, they're fully informed, the trust is there. And I think that confidence and trust is really the most important thing.
Yeah,
The
I would say
point about resort. Sorry,
yeah,
Dawn,
sorry.
the point
I'd
about
say-
resorts is just the. Of course, I think a lot of our resort partners in the winter context, this is where partnerships really come into play. And Powder Byrne's been operating in the European Alps for 36 seasons. We've built very, very strong resort partnerships, and now is the time for those partnerships really to come into to their own. And yeah, it's about communication, it's about working together, and we've all got the same objective at the end of the day, is to bring people back safely, keeping clients safe, keeping staff safe, keeping the whole process safe, and doing that as quickly as we can now.
I could totally see as a punter, as a potential client, that trust element, because these holidays are not cheap, but that trust element that actually you can book with some sort of confidence, especially now. But you're absolutely right in saying that people have adapted and say their eyes are wide open. I think we're all a bit more understanding of the issues we're faced with. But I'm sort of guessing with the sort of May 17 carrot that's been dangled in front of everybody, and vaccinations and what have you, the vaccination passport thing. How's that affecting your life? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, or what do you feel about that? Rory, what about you?
In one way, I think it's like a yellow fever certificate. I don't think, I think people got to get used to traveling with this. It's a medical visa. It's a health visa. You need a visa to go to certain countries. You need proof that you've had the vaccine. It's going to take time because different countries want different things. And you've got an issue to start with, whereby if you've had the vaccination, but your children haven't, you can go, but you can't go on a family holiday because they can't. So it's going to take time, but I think in principle, I think it's a positive thing. I don't think it's a problem. There will always be some people who can't have the vaccine. They've got to get around that. But then, are there exemptions that you don't have to have it? But I think if it gives people that passport to go and gives them the confidence that they're going to be allowed into a country and not go through, am I going to be allowed, when I get there, am I going to be tested and it's, going to be sent home or imprisoned in some country for 10 days or something. So I think it would be a good thing, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time to roll it out so that it works for the countries that people are going to and for the traveller.
Yeah.
It will need to be universally recognised as well. I think IATA, who are obviously the oversee flights and airlines, they're very keen that they get some sort of universal element. And the government, having been a little bit sceptical to start with, seem to be backtracking on that pretty fast.
Yeah.
There are obvious concerns that there'll be fraudulent versions and all that jazz, but anyone who's had any license for anything, driver's license, whatever, some people will try and get around it, but that's just an inevitability. I think there will be huge buy-in Greece are already campaigning extremely hard with the EU that, please get this up and running immediately, and then we'll have travel corridors again like last year. I'm pretty optimistic now that things are looking good, but I do think the vaccination passport or certificate or whatever it'll end up being named is going to be crucial to everything.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the vaccination passport might be a really good excuse to have to leave the children behind.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I was going to crack that gag earlier, and I didn't do it.
I'm sorry, darling. I mean, we would if we could, but what do you do? Simon, do you think, apart from vaccine passports and all the rest of it, what other hurdles is COVID going to throw up, do you think, in front of potential travellers?
Well, I think we really have had we've had it all really so far, haven't we? I mean, just to say one thing on the vaccine passports question, I think as long as, and I'm sure this is how the respective governments are looking at it, but I think as long as it's seen as part of a set of ways of making and enabling travel, rather than it just being a binary, you have to have it or there's no travel whatsoever, it can work. And I'm sure that that's the way that they're looking at it. And of course, there will be people who can't have the vaccine, and lots of ethical questions there about excluding people from travel, which we, as a sector, we are amazingly inclusive and want to include everybody, and make sure that people can have the greatest opportunity to travel. So I'm sure if it's part of a range of measures that it can succeed.
Yeah.
We're fully behind that.
I totally agree with that. And also, all of the testing that was going on in advance, PCRs and lab tests that you had to have to go and before you came back, that's all still relevant. And that will also cater to any concerns about variants as well. Because if you're tested and you haven't got it, then really, why shouldn't you be able to travel?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, vaccine or otherwise.
Yeah. And how are you finding, what sort of booking trends are you seeing? Any booking trends? Was everyone on the phone on Tuesday morning trying to book a holiday somewhere? Where are people headed to and what are they looking for, Tom?
I think there was a lot of bad math going on Tuesday morning. We got bookings up 600%. Well, if you only had one inquiry and you've suddenly got 6, yes, it's still not that exciting. But no, it's definitely changed, and I think it's a bit like a muscle. People have almost forgotten about travel, and they are gradually, and all of us it's incumbent on us to market the hell out of this and remind everyone about the confidence and security and financial security and how lovely these places are, and it will come. But speaking for ourselves, it's been an uptick, but it hasn't been a tsunami, put it that way. I don't know. Please tell me you aren't kind of inundated.
No, Tom, I'm completely with you. The 600. But I think, it will take time for people's confidence. I think in the short term, people will look at Europe. It's close to home. It's not the big, and you've also got to remember, South America and most of Africa are actually off limits at the moment, unless you want to have an additional holiday at Terminal 5 in the Ibis, which I don't think anybody does. I think once people can see that they can go to Europe and they can travel when these other destinations, I think long haul will take longer to come back, simply because you can't go there. And at the moment, I haven't been on an aeroplane for a year. I don't want to go. Don't want to go too far too soon. I'll just go where, if I need to come back because suddenly they shut the corridor or something, I can get back. Whereas if you've disappeared off to Southeast Asia or something, it's more difficult. So at the moment, the trends, I would say, of summer holidays for Europe, but I think there are also people longing and planning for the sort of bigger adventures and things further afield, but in the future. But I think it'll take a little bit more time for them to come to the fore. Right now, it's I need a holiday. Let's get something to look forward to. Let's not be too ambitious. Let's just look at Europe in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Simon, Tom, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I'd echo that.
Absolutely.
Our experience is very similar to what Tom and Rory say in terms of this spike of interest. I think we certainly had a lot more contact with clients, perhaps asking similar questions to the sorts of things we're talking about now. The roadmap doesn't really answer all these questions. If anything, it raises more. And I think we've got a responsibility to communicate really well, to try and advise as much as we possibly can and provide an insight. But ultimately, I think there's a lot of people who are still getting towards making decisions. I mean, we've certainly seen a greater interest in festive, people starting to think, perhaps casting further ahead for, again, with our business being very winter focused, looking at next season. I think perhaps people are starting to feel more confident in terms of putting deposits down now for next winter season. I think there's still concerns over bookings for this summer and when it's sensible to make bookings to travel. Is July a dead cert? Who knows? Is August a dead cert? I'd like to think July and August are now much more likely that people can travel with far less restriction. And I think people are right still to have concerns. And let's not forget the government is still being quite clear. Even Priti Patel, I think this week, mentioned that it's still too soon to book for this summer, and not wanting to get too political, but we are in that realm still of having to deal with that kind of messaging from the government. So
I'm afraid I've completely ignored that, and I've booked a holiday to France and a holiday to Portugal, of all places, which is the only country in Europe that currently is on the red list. But that punt will come off. The fact is that, and we wrote a newsletter about this the other day, there is science to anticipation, and having something in the diary to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Really, really important. And if that has to be changed or postponed or whatever, then so be it. But, you know, I'm now dreaming about my 2 holidays this summer.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. But
yeah,
Absolutely agree with you. And I think that part of the attrition of the whole lockdown experience that we've all had, and I know it's very difficult to generalize because everyone's had very different experiences, but I think a lot of what I've heard from talking to clients is just that not having anything in the diary to look forward to. We've never had that before, and it's an alien experience just to not be able to plan ahead, to look forward to have some kind of marker. And yeah, I think we're all crying out for that now, aren't we? So Tom, I salute you for your confidence.
It's really tough. I think also there's a question. A lot of people are saying, you know, should we book now? I mean, are there deals to be had if you're booking now, or is that too much of a risk? Is it too much of a punt? You know, should we hang on till things are clearer, maybe nearer the summer, and then, you know, even for early next year skiing and stuff like that?
I think it comes back to what Tom was saying earlier, the confidence of if people can get the terms and flexibility, and hotels and airlines are going to not ask for huge deposits that are then non-refundable.
Yep.
I think there's absolutely nothing wrong, and would absolutely encourage people to put something in the diary, because there's a get out if it doesn't happen. And I think that's a really positive message that needs to be got across, is that there's nothing to lose by actually booking it. So, you know, Tom's booked a holiday to a red list country. He's not expecting to go to the Ibis at Terminal 5, but if nearer the time it's not looking very good, he's going to be able to get out of that, and it'll be, you know, we're going to Italy or Spain or somewhere else. And I think that's the message to get across, is that people, you know, Priti Patel, thank you. I'm telling people not to book your holidays, but why not? Why not? You're not going to lose anything.
Can't go now, but book now.
Yeah.
There's a message that this is a genuine, it sounds too pushy and too salesy, but I think we're going to press the button on it relatively soon, is that if you don't think about booking now, you may well get disappointed, because we've got 2 years worth of demand and limited supply, probably more limited supply. So there will be fewer flights because all the airlines have been absolutely knocked sideways by this, and all last year's postponees plus this year's bookers all trying to pile into the same places with fewer flights to get there. If you think about doing this relatively soon, you are going to be disappointed. That feels like a very pushy call but I genuinely mean it, and I think you guys would totally agree.
Yeah, and I certainly echo that from a winter perspective.
Absolutely.
You know, looking at the nature of the bookings for, you know, we've now had clients who were affected for Easter 2020, who rebooked for Easter 2021, who are now being disappointed again, and we're moving those bookings. Same for festive and the February half-term period. So yes, there is a huge amount of kind of pre-sales, let's call them, which are being rolled into the season, and that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, we've had, so we
an easy message for any of us to give, but I think again, this point I made before about transparency and being honest and open with our clients, and just saying, look, this is the situation, and actually we're here as enablers. That's what we're trying to do, all of us in our respective roles. We're all trying to enable people to travel and realize their dream, and if we can join the dots and help them understand that, then you know, we're doing our job properly.
Yeah. We work with school notices. We work with travel agents, whether they're international, whether they're just, you know, companies within the UK or hotels or whatever. And whilst it wasn't at all amusing, we saw a lot of international agents pulling budgets, freezing budgets, and all the rest of it from an advertising perspective. The domestic travel market was rammed, so they didn't want to advertise. They couldn't sell any more rooms. They're all full up. So we had this kind of stalemate. So it's refreshing to hear that that there is a light. We'll see there's a light at the end of the tunnel anyway. But just one question I'd like to ask, which I ask everybody I talk to, and we do a lot of stuff with headmasters and talk about schools, and they've had it really tough, having to adapt to their way of life. But in this nightmare we've had for 18 months, or feels like 18 months, whatever it is, just every year, what has come out of this that you would continue to adopt, sort of post-COVID? What stuff have you had to adapt or do that actually work quite well, and you'd like to keep up your sleeve and continue doing? Simon, what about you?
Well, that's a very good question. And I think it is important to try and look for the silver linings, isn't it, in all of these difficult times. We've had to work in an entirely different way. Flexibility, having to close the offices and without getting too technical, very much the back office element of the business has had to adapt very, very fast.
Yeah.
And that's given us new things to think about in terms of how we would move forward as a business in the future. But I think focused on the experience of a client, and how clients would perceive this, and this is really about understanding that every single client's experience of this is different, and what's really come across to me in all the conversations I've had with clients is such an enormous spectrum of experience, and an enormous spectrum now of approach to what the new challenges are. Some people are massively gung-ho and just ready to go, and engines revving, and the moment that tape is removed from the boarding gate at Heathrow, they're off. Others are totally at the other end of the spectrum and really nervous, anxious about a whole myriad of things that could go wrong and could fall in the way of their holiday. So I think we've always been, and I know Tom and Rory as well, we're all bespoke operators. That is something that we all do extremely well, I'd like to think. We will become more bespoke. That's in a nutshell. We have to understand and listen more to what the individual client wants, needs, what their concerns are. And I think if anything, we will be working more on that concierge support that we offer, that hand holding, and really getting to know each individual client more, so we can respond and make this happen for them.
Yeah. Rory, what about you? What are you going to hang on to from COVID?
Well, I wish that the flexibility of hotels and suppliers and the terms and conditions, because it makes it very easy to be really clear and open to people, to give people the confidence. Some of that may not be in our hands, because hotels may go back to sort of, oh no, we want huge deposits up front. But actually, going to a customer and saying, I need a really small deposit and it's fully refundable. I'd long for that to continue, because previously I think our hands have been tied by hotels and airlines. You book a flight and have got to pay 100% now, and it's non-changeable, non-refundable. That's tough if someone's trying to book something and they're sort of, in the past, I've got to book now for Christmas, but am I really going to leave on the 15th of December or the 16th of December? Yeah. So I'd like to think that will stay. I fear it may not, but I think that would be good. And I think the other thing is that customers, they want to travel. We're going to see them travel, and as Simon said, that I think they're going to really value. I think the travel industry at times has not scored particularly well. Certainly not been portrayed very well. A lot of people, as Tom said earlier, got their fingers burned. But I like to think that certainly our companies will gain people's trust. And I think that people can see that we are negotiating for them, that they are not just one size fits all. It's an individual booking, and we will get the best terms and conditions. And actually, therefore, returning to booking through a company is actually, the benefits of it are so much more than trying to do it yourself, where you get your fingers burnt, you can't get your money back. And I think in many ways it has made people look and go, actually, I understand, why travel agents and tour operators exist. And I think that's really important.
Great. Tom?
Completely agree with both those analyses. We are going to be valued more. People are, you know, we've had a year where you can't go anywhere. I printed off that advertisement that the government did last month, which had the pair of flip-flops by the side of the pool and splashed across it, going on holiday is illegal. Printed it off, and I'm going to frame it and just write underneath it, never take anything for granted ever again. Because in the space of a year, we've gone to a government telling us going on holiday is illegal. You know, it makes everyone realize how important travel is for your soul, frankly, and then no one's going to want to get it wrong. You know, holiday will be precious, and they will hopefully come to the pros to get it right. And to Rory's point, shorter lead times, smaller deposits, all that sort of flexibility will, I hope that stays. But also to Rory's point, you know, hotels might not get that and they might revert to bad habits, but hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there because, you know, it's nearly drinks time. And you've all been fantastic. And I'm sure you're going to be very, very busy in the coming months. You know, I'm sure you are as things get clearer and clearer. So thanks very much for your time. Lovely to talk to you. Tom from Original Travel, Simon Powder Byrne, Rory from Bailey Robinson. It's been great chatting to you. And thanks very much. Keep safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rory.
Good to
Speak to you later.
Thanks a
Bye,
lot.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.